Let me show you 3 different tips, tricks and techniques inside of Lightroom that will help you take your images from good to great. Hi, my name is Martin. I'm a photographer, designer and content creator from Sweden, and I've personally been editing inside of Lightroom for the past 8-9 years or so, pretty much weekly. If we jump into Lightroom and take a look at the first tip or technique that the pros use, and that is definitely going to be the masks, which is one of the most powerful tools inside of Lightroom. And the reason why masks are so powerful is that you can do edits to just certain parts of the image. So for example, just by opening the masking tab, Lightroom has an AI that identifies people inside of the frame. And you can also go to objects, and if you choose here, you choose the square, and then you just draw a square above your subject. Lightroom is going to detect the subject for you, and now you'll have a perfect mask of that subject. And now you can do changes to just that specific part of the image. Something that is really powerful is that you now can add even more masks, so you can have pretty much how many you ever want. And if we just press this plus sign here, you can go down and choose between these different ways of masking your image. So you probably already know about the linear gradient one. You can do this, and you can do changes to only the foreground or the snow in the foreground here. So let's say I want it to be darker. And another one that is really cool is the color range. So if you pick this one, you will get this color picker, and now you can choose a color inside of the frame. So let's take this kind of blue color here, and now you will see that it creates a mask that only includes the blue color inside of the frame. So you can do changes to just that specific color. So if I increase the exposure of this part, you can see that all the parts that were a little bit blue get brighter. And then if you press the invert button, it's going to do the exact opposite. So instead of choosing all the blue color, it will select everything else except for the blue. And another one of my favorites is the luminance range. This one is pretty much the same as color range, but this time it's going to create a mask depending on how bright or how dark it is where you pick your point. So let's pick something really bright. Let's try here. And now you can see that Lightroom has created a mask for all the really bright parts of the image. And here in the luminance range, you can slide the slider to select sort of where or how bright the selection needs to be inside of the mask. So this is really cool if you want to do changes to only the bright parts or the shadows of an image. It is exactly the same here. If you want to invert the mask, you can do that as well. So if I press it, you can now see that this selection is on everything except for the really bright parts of the image. Alright, but let's say you have done this selection with only the bright parts of the image, but you don't want this foreground to be in the same mask. So what you can do is go up here to this mask here with the highlights, go down to the plus and minus sign, and if you press the minus sign, you see this subtract from mask width, and you can choose a tool to subtract from your mask width as well. So for this example, we could use something like a linear gradient. And if we draw a gradient here and move it up a little bit, let's see, like that. And we press this mask once again, move it up a little bit more. And if we press up here now, you can see that this mask now doesn't include the bright parts in the foreground. So this way you can go into Lightroom, do a mask with a tool like the Luminosity one, but then you can also remove parts from that mask with another tool. Alright, and the reason why this masking tool inside of Lightroom is so incredibly good is that you can actually do changes to a specific part of an image, and that is extremely powerful as a tool when it comes to editing photos. So if you're not using it, try it out and try masking, try different types of masks and do changes to specific parts of the image. And I can almost guarantee you that over time it is going to improve your photography overall. And as a photographer, you don't want to clip your image, which means that you don't want the bright parts of the image to get so bright that there's no information left in them, and it's the same with the dark parts of the image. And inside of Lightroom there is actually a quick little hack that you can use to make sure that that doesn't happen to you. And all you have to do when you're inside of Lightroom is to press the J button on your keyboard. And when you do that, you can see that these two arrows up here get a white outline around them. This tells you that the hack is activated. And if we go down to the tone curve here, and we just grab the highlights and bring them up. As I bring them up, you can see in the middle part of the image here, where the sun ray is, that as soon as I push it a little too far, it starts to get red. And the red part is where the image is clipping towards the highlights, which means that it is so bright that there's no information left in that part. And it's exactly the same with the dark parts of the image. So if we go down here and choose the black part and bring it down, you can see that as we make it darker, we get this blue color, and the blue color just indicates where we are clipping the blacks so that there is no information left in the black parts of that image. So this is just a super simple hack that you can activate with the press of one button inside of Lightroom that will make sure that you don't clip your image. And a clipped image is sort of an indication of an amateur photographer. Alright, and now for the third and last hack or tip inside of Lightroom that pros use, and that is going to be to create virtual copies of your image. So if we go into Lightroom here again to our image, and if I hover over it down here, you will see that it says 1 out of 2. And the reason why that is because I have created a virtual copy of this image. So if I press this 1 out of 2 section here, you can see that now it only says 2, but there are like stacks, a paper stack. So if I press it, you can see that this image here to the right appears. And this is actually the exact same image, but it is a copy of it. But you can also see that I have created a totally different crop on this image. And this is one of the reasons why I really like this create virtual copy tool inside of Lightroom, because you can create multiple versions of the same image, and you can create as many as you want. And all you have to do is to right click on the thumbnail here of the image and go up to create virtual copy. And now you will see that it says 1 of 3, 2 of 3 and 3 of 3. And you could make as many of these as you will like. And depending on which of them you choose to select when you are doing the virtual copy, is going to create a copy of that specific version. So if I've made a version of this in the standing format and I really liked it, but I want to try something else, I can create a virtual copy of that one. It is going to end up in the same stack, but it's going to create a copy of that one instead. And the reason why I really like this tool is because you can create a copy of your image and you can try different edits on the same image without having to removing one of the edits that you have already done. It is also really good if you want to use your images in different versions. For example, this image here, then that I have one version that is in a landscape format, but let's say I want one for Instagram stories or something, then I would like one that is horizontal. Then I could just make a virtual copy of it and create a new crop, and I have 2 versions of the same image that I can use on different platforms. Alright, so those were 3 different hacks and techniques inside of Lightroom that you might not have known about. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.